Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paula's Soapbox Live. As many of you know, I've been sort of battling a horrific cold, so I'm going to try not to share my a very attractive cough with you tonight, but I have tea and cough drops on standby just in case. I'm very excited about the guest that I have tonight. She is one of my favorite up-and-coming young authors. Her new book is called Breaking Ties. It debuted at #1 in iBooks Australia, at #3 in iBooks United States, and yeah, so be sure to check those books out of her. She's got Breaking series, Just a Little series, and a whole Webster Grove series that should be coming back out soon. So please welcome to the show, author Tracie Puckett.
Hi.
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 Welcome, Tracie. I'm so happy to have you here. Like I said, I've been a fan of your writing for a long time, so
Oh, that's flattering. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad that you could be here. So when I was researching you, there was this quote that you wrote or said, and I'd like to read it back to you if I could, because I
Okay.
think that it perfectly sort of gives insight into the types of books that you've been writing. It
Okay.
says, I've made it my personal mission in life to play matchmaker to fictional characters. And I thought that was just great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I figure there's so many things that we can do. There are a million options of things that we can do with our lives, and I think that if I have the opportunity to create these characters and make them happy and give them a happily ever after, that's exactly what I want to do. To me,
Right,
happily ever after is all it's about. That's it.
right. Well, yeah, your books are definitely, they're really like page turners. I'm in the middle of reading the Breaking series right now. So through the whole books, I don't want to give anything away, but through all of your books, it's like, oh, will they or won't they get together?
Right.
So there's a real, you know, with your writing, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. You basically said what I was trying to say, so never mind. Um,
Okay.
You had written and self-published several books that they sort of went under the radar
Yeah.
until you published Just a Little Crush, and then
Yeah.
something changed.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
It's crazy. I had the 5 books in the Webster Grove series, and then I was 4 books into the Just a Little series before anything took off, actually.
Mm,
And it was really kind of crazy because I kept writing. I'm like, if something's going to happen with this, that's great. If not, I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun. I'm riding the wave. It's awesome. And then I just woke up one day and I'm like, whoa, people know who I am. People are buying my books. What's going on? I'm still to this day trying to figure out what happened. I have a couple of theories. I don't know if they're right, but I don't know. Something amazing happened. Some flip just got switched and everything changed. And it's really awesome. I have this amazing following now, and I don't know what happened.
yeah. Well, when I first heard of you, it was after the Just a Little Crush. It was one of the
Yeah.
featured books on iBooks in the U.S. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was when I first became familiar with you as a writer, and since then I've read some of your other stuff. And like I said, I'm in the middle of the Breaking series now. So yeah, in the Just a Little series, yeah, I love those books. I think I was reading like one a night.
Oh wow.
Couldn't put them down.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they, like I said, they're really, really good page turners, so it's one of those books that you pick up and you can't not read the next one.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. Thanks.
so I hope everyone checks it out because, yeah, you're a very talented writer. And speaking of the Just a Little series, you're supposed to have another book in that series coming out in January.
I have actually 3 coming up. One is expected in January.
Mm,
Um, it's a continuation of the series. I kind of left the Just a Little series in a place where I had plenty of material to work with if I decided to continue it, but also in a place where I was going to be happy leaving it if I never decided to write anymore.
yeah.
But there's something nagging me. I have to keep writing it, and I think it's kind of nagging some of the readers as well, and that makes it that much more exciting because I know that they want it as much as I want it. So I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to write it and do what feels right.
Right. So you have another three-part series from Just a Little Series coming
Yes.
up.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So can you tell us anything, like without giving too much away, about what's going to happen with Luke and Julie?
Well, Luke and Julie, the point of the Just a Little series was to get those two together. I won't say much, just that I'm not splitting them up. No more of that back and forth. They are together. They are staying together.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the romance goes, that's as much as I will give you. And in this next book, we will be losing somebody that we love very dearly. That's all I'm giving away.
Oh no. Now I'm going to have to be wondering about that until January. So,
Sorry.
um, yeah, in those books there was a little bit of a mystery involved in them too. So I think that is one of the things that made it such a page turner.
Yeah,
So
when I set out to write it, I mean, obviously I wanted to write a romance. I wanted that boy meets girl and, all those
right.
happy feelings. But I wanted there to be something a little deeper to it, and it all just kind of happened. It all fell together, and I was happy with the little mysterious element that ended up playing a part in
Right.
it.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away for those who haven't read the series yet because yeah, I want people to read it. I don't want to just give it to them. So,
Yeah, read the books, guys.
and
Read
they're
them.
very inexpensive. I think a few of them are free, and a lot of them were just 99 cents.
You can actually get
So
the first,
they're
yeah, the
very
first four now.
affordable.
Yeah, the first four now are set free permanently.
Free.
So if you like the
Yeah,
first four, you'll probably like the last five.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is coming. The first book of that is coming out in January then.
Yes.
Okay, your books typically, as we've touched on, they're part of like a series of books. They're not just
Yeah.
like one novel and then it ends.
Right.
So is that planned? Do you plan that? Is it, or do you write like a full series and divide it up into like novellas and then publish it, or how does that work?
With my first series, it was always planned that there would be at least four.
Hmm.
It turned into five. With the Just a Little series, it was always planned that there would only be four, and it turned into nine. I've always set out with the plan to write series because I'm a very busy person. So I feel a lot more comfortable writing in short periods of time with a short amount of material. Um, the more that I've gotten comfortable with writing, the longer everything has gotten. You'll notice that I started off with these little short stories, and then you have novellas, and now we're working with full-length novels. Um, but it's always been the plan to do series. I kind of like doing them.
Hmm.
I don't think I'll ever really change that setup unless it stops working for me.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think from just a marketing standpoint, I think it's very clever because if people like that first book and there's a continuation, they're going to
Right.
keep looking for the next book, and then they're more likely to check out some of your other stuff too. So
Right.
from that
That's
standpoint,
from the marketing standpoint, that was always something that was very important to me. I like the idea of giving that first book away in every series for free, because I don't want to have to make people financially invest in something that I'm doing if they don't know who I am or they don't know if they're even going to like that story. I feel like it gives them an opportunity to, kind of test drive my writing and my story and see if they like it. And if they do, that's awesome. And if they
yeah,
don't, they've not really wasted anything, but a little bit
yeah.
of time.
Well, like I said, when I first became aware of you as an author, your book was, I think it was Just a Little Crush, was featured on
Right.
iTunes, on iBooks.
Yeah.
And I was just looking for stuff to read, and it was in the free books, and I checked it out, and I liked it, and that's exactly how I became a fan of your writing. I liked the first one; it was free, and then I paid for the other ones, and so yeah, I think that's a brilliant way to market your books if you're going to self-publish,
Yeah.
because people are not likely to invest
Right.
time or money in people they don't know.
Right. Right.
So we mentioned earlier about your Webster Grove series of books. Those were taken down
Yes.
because they were being reformatted and rebranded, and
Yes.
they're not back up yet, right?
No, no, the plan was to have them back up by the beginning of November. Um, but I have stressed this a million times to my readers. They know me very well by now. I am not a multitasker. So when I say, yes, I'm going to get this book out to you, I should know better than to take on another project and expect to get everything done, because my attention usually goes to one thing and one thing only. So I'm kind of juggling things right now, and they're going to be up again as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I can imagine that would be very time consuming, because when you're self-publishing, you're not only writing the books, you're having to do all of the other stuff to make sure that it gets on iTunes and Amazon and the Nook store, all that. And so I'm surprised that even with all that you have time to write at all. So
it's a little overwhelming, but you learn to adapt. Eventually, it becomes like second nature, where you're like, at first, it's like hours and hours and hours of work, and then it just becomes kind of like minutes of work. And I'm saying that now, and yet I still have a ton of stuff that I need to be doing that's not getting done. But really, if you manage your time well, I don't. But if you manage your time really, really well, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
You just learn. You learn to do it.
So do you set aside, I know that you have a young son, so do you have to set aside time each day to write, or?
It's not any set time. It's basically whenever he lets me write. And he is an angel. He's a great kid. I usually can squeeze in some time in the morning before he's up, some time while he's sleeping at night, and usually during the day while he's at school, and that usually gives me a good amount of time. And sometimes I can just get it done while he's sitting in the other room playing. So it's never one set amount of time. It's just whenever I can get it in.
Yeah. Well, that's really good that, you can just kind of pick it up and do it like that, because I know some people have to be very regimented with their writing schedules. So
Right.
So your books, they are online. Do you read the feedback when someone downloads a book?
No. If I get an email and someone's like, obviously I read all of my emails, so if someone writes me and they're like gushing about it, or they're writing me and they're hating it, I'm reading the emails. I do not read the reviews. I cannot remember the last time I read a review. It was right after everything really kind of took off last year, and it was like April or May. Suddenly I'm seeing all of these sales pour in, and then all of these reviews following those. And I'm reading the good ones, and I can just feel my ego it was like inflating. But then I would read the bad ones, and I would just go like cry in the shower. So it kind of got to this point where it's like it's going to be really bad for me either way. Right. So I stopped reading reviews a long time ago. Yeah. If it comes in email form, I will read it, but if it's just on one of the websites, I do not see it.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that I would be able to do that either, because it would seem like if you read something positive, then you would feel like you had to surpass what you did in that book.
Yeah.
If it was something negative, then you would constantly have that voice in your head while you were trying to write. Well, that's not good. They're not going to like that, so I have to change that. So, I don't think that I would read them either.
It's not so much either that with the bad reviews that I couldn't take the criticism. It's, it's rough. It's never nice to hear someone say, I hated this book. But I would want to, every time I read something bad, especially if they wrote something very specific, I found myself wanting to go back and change those things. And being self-published, I have the power to do that. I can go back and change those things. But then I'm like, wait, there were these people who didn't care, these people who loved it, these people who hated it. You can't make everybody happy.
Right.
Which was one of the decisions I had to make. I'm like, I can't make everybody happy, so I just have to stop. I have to stop reading them and just trust my instincts and go with it.
Yeah, and if you try to make everyone happy, then at some point you're going to be writing something that doesn't make sense for the characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I would do the same thing as you. I wouldn't read any of them, positive or negative. You're just asking for trouble.
Yep.
So your books are online, but are some of them also available on paperback as well?
Yes. All of the Just a Little books are available on paperback.
Okay.
And Webster Grove was and will be again very soon. And the first two Breaking books are in paperback. Breaking Ties is coming as soon as I get Webster Grove squared away. Soon.
So where can people find those?
Only on Amazon or CreateSpace.
Okay.
They're printed directly from CreateSpace, but available on Amazon.
Okay.
There are links to those on my blog, so they should be able to find those quite easily.
At traciepuckett.com, that's right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll post that link too when I post the interview later, so people can find that. So what made you decide to become a writer?
That's a hard question. It was never this childhood dream of mine to grow up and be a writer. I actually went to school. Went to college on a theater scholarship. Theater was always my big dream. That's what I wanted to do. But life just kind of happened, and I found myself becoming a young mother, and I had many days and nights alone with this little newborn, and I'm like, what am I going to do with my time and my life? And I always liked writing, and I thought, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to give this a shot. If it works, that's awesome. It's great. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. At least I tried.
Yeah.
And it worked. I found myself falling in love with it a little more every time I would write something, and I couldn't stop. Like when I was writing the Webster Grove series, I would stay up all night just writing, and I found myself falling in love with something I never knew that I could fall in love with. And now I can't really imagine myself doing anything else. So it wasn't this childhood dream, that's something I always wanted to do, but it became something that I just can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah. Well, it's a different form of storytelling.
Yeah.
So it's just another aspect of it. So
yeah. I'm always bursting at the seams to create something. So either way it goes, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I read one of your blog topics. It was what the characters from your Just a Little series were gonna get you for Christmas.
Yeah.
And Julie was gonna get you 9 hours of sleep, but after that you had to write more for Julie. So I can imagine when you start writing about these characters that there's always more that you feel like you should tell after that. So.
Yeah, I mean, there will always be these moments where I'm like, I have to write more for Gabe and Mandy, even though I know that series is over. I know that story is done. Yeah. In my head, it will go on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at one time you thought about pursuing a career in music. So do you still write songs or poetry?
I don't. That was something that I really enjoyed doing in high school. It's something that I enjoyed in college. But no, I mean, I still do my share of singing in the car and in the shower. My dear son will tell you that because he has to quiet me down quite a bit. But no, seriously, it's not something that I'm interested in pursuing. It's something I enjoy, but I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and as long as I can do this, I'm okay with that.
Well, you're certainly doing well. I mean, your books are taking off, and I can't count how many times I see one of your books featured in iBooks. So, clearly you're doing what you're meant to do.
Yeah, iBooks has been very, very, very great to me. I mean, I have made some amazing friends with people at iBooks, and I really don't know what I did to deserve all of that love and generosity, but I'm definitely not going to complain about it.
So how many times have you had a book featured like as a featured book on iBooks?
I honestly don't know. I could sit down and I could go back through screenshots and count those things out, but I lost track last year. They've been great.
That's really good though that you've had it enough that you've lost track.
Yeah, they've been wonderful to me. Like I'm and every time they write and say, "Hey, we're going to feature, this book for this category," I'm blown away every time because I'm just it's amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Well, it's under quite a bit. I mean, you're usually like under breakout authors, or your book is a free book for that week, or I'm always seeing your name when I log in to download a book.
I like that.
Yeah, so you're definitely doing something right. So speaking of music, you auditioned for American Idol twice.
Wait a minute. How do you know that?
Research, hello.
Wow, you really did your research. Okay.
I really did my research. So how far did you get in the process?
Not far. They have preliminary rounds that you have to get through before you ever get to the
Right.
actual audition stages. I never got through the preliminary rounds. It was an amazing experience. I would do it again just for the experience, not so much
Right.
because I want to do the singing and the music. It's just great. You meet lots of wonderful people, and it was awesome.
Lots of interesting people, I would imagine.
Interesting is a good word. Yes, we'll
Yeah.
go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've also auditioned for Survivor, which is like, you know, not in day American Idol and Survivor. Of course, I guess at the end of the day, you sort of have to have survival skills to make it on American Idol as well. So
Yeah, I would fail miserably at Survivor. I have auditioned for Survivor, but I would fail miserably. I just think it would be so much fun to play. I think it would be
yeah,
an awesome game to play. I would love to do it. I'd love to try.
I
I will
couldn't
audition
I
for that
couldn't eat
again.
the rats. I couldn't do that, and I'm not
No,
sure I could live off of Ross for that
oh,
long.
I'm telling you, they would vote me off the first night because I'd be crying every time I see a snake. But
Right,
it doesn't matter. Like I want to say that I did it. That would be
right.
fun. Right.
Well, if you ever do, you're coming back on and you're going to tell us about how it was. So.
I would be happy to.
Okay, so tell me about this Google Hangout show, First Draft. You take part in that from time to time.
Yeah, First Draft is a just a Google Hangout show that a few of my friends, my romance writing friends, started sometime last year. Um, I'm a regular guest. My friend Lachelle, she's also a regular guest. We just basically talk about all things writing. Sometimes we cover topics from NaNoWriMo they just did here in November. We covered RWA. We've talked about plotting and pantsing and all kinds of different things. And my great friend Lachelle, who's also a guest on the show, she and I have kind of put our heads together, and we've recently started talking about doing something very similar, launching our own broadcast, focusing mostly on indie stuff and self-publishing. We feel like there aren't enough advocates for self-publishing yet,
Right.
and I think that that's something that we would be really great at. We're both in the middle of that. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're still in the very early stages of planning this. She's probably not going to be happy that I'm telling you about it right now. Oops. Hi, Lachelle.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. But it's something that we're talking about, and it's something that we're both very excited about.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for more information.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea, and the self-publishing, I don't know why that is not, why there's still kind of a stigma attached to
Yeah,
self-publishing,
there definitely is.
because, most people have their Kindles and their iPads, and you're downloading books anyway, so, why not download something that someone has self-published?
I think a lot of the problem is, especially in the beginning of self-publishing, when it really started, and it's still the case now, anyone can upload something. Anyone can upload a book, anyone can write a book.
Yeah.
And I think that the problem is not everyone, some people have this mindset that any self-published book is a bad book.
Right. It's not true.
That's totally not the case. I have plenty of self-published friends. You wouldn't know picking up one of their books that it didn't come from a traditional publisher.
Right.
They're incredible writers, they are incredible artists, and they're doing amazing things, and they're self-published.
Yeah.
And for many of us, self-publishing wasn't a last resort. It was something we chose to do without ever pursuing the traditional route. This was what we wanted to do. This is what we're doing, and it's not because we didn't have the talent or ability to hack it traditionally. This is just we want to make that's a lot of why we want to do the show. We want to make it very clear that self-publishing, it's not really what everyone thinks that it is.
Yeah. Well, you have control over your creative content.
Yes.
And if you're not self-publishing, I would imagine that you would have to give up a lot of that control. So
you give up a lot of control and a lot of your rights. And
yeah,
I'm a bit of a control freak, so I don't think I could ever do it, but I would never say never at the same time.
Right. Well, definitely, keep me updated on that, because that's something that I would like to promote.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we were talking about First Draft a second ago, and I watched the Music as Muse episode of that, and you mentioned that you are a fan of Barry Manilow. Your character Mandy in the Breaking series was inspired by Mandy.
Yes.
So, have any of your other books been inspired by him or some other musician?
No, and the thing is, Music is Muse was a really hard first draft for me,
Yeah,
because I do listen to a lot of music outside of the writing process, but you'll never see me listening to music while I'm writing.
yeah,
Um, I have to keep those two things very separate. But no, it actually was funny. I do love Barry Manilow. I love him. And it kind of came to the point when I was writing the Breaking series. It's like, I need a name for my main character, and nothing felt right.
yeah.
And it kind of just clicked one day, and I'm like, yeah, she's a Mandy. She's totally a Mandy. So I totally have Barry to thank for that.
Right.
But no, I can't say that anything else has been inspired by music at all.
Yeah.
I have these little, it sets the tone sometimes, but never anything directly.
Right. Well, I know that you also said that you were inspired by Enrique Iglesias'
Just
song
yeah,
"Why Not Me." Yeah.
yeah.
So how is that? How has that
That
inspired you?
song, it's funny. It kind of, I was in the process of writing the Webster Grove series. I believe it was the fourth book. And I was stuck. I was kind of at this place where I'm like, I don't know where this story is going. I know where I want it to go, but it's not moving forward. And I was listening to Enrique, and that song came on, and it just kind of suddenly something clicked for me. And that song ended up, I pulled it over and ended up listening to it a lot during the Just Little series. And I've had to put it away. I can't listen to it anymore because I don't know. It strikes a lot of things for my early writing, but it's still not.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
helping me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that song has played a really big role in inspiring, I guess, the mood and the tone of the stories, but not so much any specific circumstances.
Right. Well, I read that much of your Breaking series was inspired by your mom and your cat and your son. So,
Yeah.
how did they inspire you to write this series?
Well, at the beginning, when I first started writing the series, I didn't have my cat yet. I started writing Breaking Rules during NaNoWriMo last year, so
Yeah.
in November.
It was
And
becoming Mandy at first, wasn't it?
it was, yes. The title of that book changed like 500 times. It kind of got to the point where I'm like, I'm done. I will figure it out eventually. And it finally came to me. I was emailing a friend, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this? That's exactly what this book is supposed to be called. And then the other titles kind of fell into place after that. And I'm like, yes, that was an aha moment, and it was totally awesome. Um, my mom, she is a very wise person, and when I brought my cat home, for so long it's just been, my kid and myself, and I finally like, we're going to introduce this beautiful little kitten into our lives, and she was tiny. She was just this little tiny baby, and I cried for days after I brought her home because Joseph kept pestering the cat, and she was terrified of him, and she wouldn't come anywhere near me, probably because she thought I was going to be just like him. And
Right.
it kind of got to the point where I was on the phone every night with my mom crying, and I'm like, I have made the biggest mistake of my life. I should have never brought this cat home. It was fine when it was just the two of us, and now, I'm throwing this new life into the mix, and I felt awful. And I kept waiting on my mom to say, you know what, you're right, take the cat back, or bring me the cat, I'll take care of it. I wanted her to tell me I was right, that I shouldn't have gotten the cat. And it kind of got to the point where she's like, no, you know what, you have a responsibility to that cat, you have a responsibility to your son. You guys are going to grow together, you're going to change together. And
Right.
it's just this constant advice that my mom gives me. Sometimes I feel a little lost, and I expect for someone to just say, hey, Tracie, you're doing things right. And my mom's always the person to say, no, you're not. This is, she's my biggest fan, and she, of course,
Yeah.
tells me when I'm doing things right, but she'll be the first person to call me out when I'm not.
Right.
And this was one of those circumstances where she gave me this nice big shove, and it was kind of a shove that my characters needed in the Breaking series as well. So she really fueled a lot of the inspiration for this series from the beginning to the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just by being
you
herself.
mentioned, yeah, you mentioned that that book you started during, what is it,
NaNoWriMo.
NaNoWriMo? Yeah. Explain just a little bit about that, because that's a new concept for me. I only just heard about it this year.
NaNoWriMo
Yes.
is National Novel Writing Month, and it begins on the 1st of November every year and goes to the last day of November. And the whole idea is for you to write 50,000 words in 30 days.
Yeah.
It's the most terrifying thing in the world. I started this year, and it's never going to happen. I just have too much going on. It was one thing I didn't do. I still wanted to try. It's not going to happen. But last year was my first attempt at trying. I got, I don't know, a good 13,000 words into my story last year and realized I was writing a story that was never going to go anywhere. So I scrapped it all, and I started completely over with a writing prompt with one sentence, and I ended up with the Breaking series.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of blown away. Like, I never expected to write a full novel, well, the first draft of a full novel in 30 days, but then I never expected it to turn into a series in the long run.
Yeah.
It's really kind of awesome.
And Breaking Ties is the last one in the series, correct? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing that it turned into a 3-part series after that, because, 1 month to write a novel, that's intense pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pantser anyway, so I write by the seat of my pants. I don't plot or plan anything. I basically know I'm starting with these people, and in the end, they're going to be together. The rest of it just kind of surprises me as I go.
Right. Well, the characters kind of unfold in front of you as you're reading them.
And obviously, that's the first draft. That's the first draft, and you're still figuring everything out as they're figuring everything out. And then you have those second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth drafts, in my case sometimes 10, that it eventually shapes into a whole novel. So to write a first draft in 30 days, it's crazy.
It's impressive.
Insane. It's crazy insane, but it's doable.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that became the 3-part series, and I was going to ask you if you had worked on anything this month, but obviously.
Yeah, but it's not.
It just didn't happen this month.
Maybe sometime in the future when I'm not focused on a million different things.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Are you still working on The Real Me?
Oh my goodness, that story will haunt me for the rest of my life. Yeah, yes and no. Yes, and the fact that I'm always thinking about it. I would love for something to come of that, but not actively writing it. I'm not working on it. Yeah. I'm hoping that there will be this moment sometime in the future. Near future would be great, but in the future where I'm like, this is doable now. But right now, it's just not. Like, it's not so much a time issue. It's just I don't feel it. I figure eventually I'm going to feel it, and it's going to be in me to do it. Right now, it's not. And I look forward to the day that it is, because I'm excited to write it. I just want to do it right.
Right. Well, and you're writing other things in the meantime, so it's not like you're not doing anything. You have these series of books coming up all the time. Right. Yeah. So, well, guess what? That was all of my questions. So
I did it.
You did it. Do you have anything that you would like to add? Something maybe I forgot?
I don't think so. I mean, you covered things I didn't even expect you to know. So I think we're good.
I do my research,
I would say so. Like, did you contact my best friends? Like, I don't even know how you knew some of those things.
You would be surprised what you can find online.
Apparently so.
Right. Just wow. Googling someone's name, you would be surprised what you can find online.
Wow.
So, okay. Well, okay then. I guess that's it. Thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Absolutely, and I hope that you'll come back again once you have your next thing to promote or whatever. So,
I would love to. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, well, Tracie Puckett, her books are available on iTunes, Amazon, where else? Create Space.
Basically anywhere where you can find an ebook. I'm there.
Okay. Yeah, and be sure to check them out. They're not expensive, and they're well worth the read. So you won't be able to put them down, I promise. So, Tracie Puckett, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Paula.
Good night.
Night.